Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spar&Brawl. Hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam. And in today's video, we're gonna take a look at what two of the biggest, probably, one called itself the biggest online progressive show, TYT, and the other one, Breaking Points, previously The Rising, which is one of the most popular ones out there. So we just wanted to take a look. They're two huge online news outlets in this space. So wanted to just kind of take a look at not only what kind of views they're generating these days, but also dive a bit into the topic of their videos. So Sam, should we get started? I'm gonna lay out a little bit what I've done. So tell me if you think I've given enough context before we start breaking down the videos and the findings. So pretty much I looked at TYT, how they did in the month of June, so all the videos that they posted on their YouTube channel in the month of June and in the month of March of this year. And then I did the same thing for Breaking Points in Breaking Points in June, and then the Rising from the month of March. And I looked at the headline of the video, and based on that, I kind of put it within a specific category for like the kind of issue that they're talking about. Do you think, Sam, is that all? Is there anything else you think I should add?
No, I just would like to point out that you focused on two sort of progressive, let's say, shows, like TYT Hour or whatever it's called, because because they're shows rather than just individuals who promote a specific, like, their own thing. So I think it's a bit different. Like Breaking Point is a bit of Breaking Point and TYT are a better comparison than, let's say, I don't know, let's say David Dole and TYT, or
Yeah.
that would be a more fair comparison to compare them individually, because these are sort of framed as shows, and they try to have a slightly broader appeal. I mean, with the Rising and Breaking Point, they're trying to literally bring in popular left and populist right together. So
Yeah, and I mean they have
I
much
think,
more resources exactly than the other ones. Like Kyle Kalinske, if you brought him in, it's just him. Jimmy, it's kind of him and the people who are helping them out. So also in terms of their output, there would be less. They would have less, and yeah, and Kyle is just him, which would have made the
and I
comparison.
just
Sorry, just another
think
good channel to add could have been Sam Sater's channel. What's it called?
the
And
majority
the
report.
Majority Report, and also Democracy Now. But I wasn't able to get to their data. There could be two that could add down the line.
And I would say, like, I don't know, like, when you do, like, if I was just talking, I don't know, I feel like the shows that are individual political commentators are slightly different than shows that are like are more sort of describe themselves as news shows. I mean, I know the line is getting blurry and all
Yeah.
that on YouTube, but I do feel there is a slight difference between the two in terms
No,
of,
that's
like,
for
media
sure.
format, just in terms of media
Yeah.
format. That's
And
But
still,
anyway,
it
yeah. So
wouldn't be
we, yeah,
absolutely unfair to bring those other guys in because they also have a lot of subscribers and things like
in
that. So
terms of
it could,
content,
yeah,
very similar. I think in terms of format, somewhat different. No, it's just I'm just trying to explain why
yeah,
did we
no,
do this. But I think I'm gonna add a major caveat at the end. But I think you gave perfect context and
yeah.
everything.
And I mean, they're the two biggest. That's probably the biggest thing in
I
common.
would imagine Democracy Now is
Oh,
probably
true.
bigger than
But
Breaking Point.
Democracy Now, to be fair to them, to use one of your phrases, they're not very YouTube focused. So their numbers would have been a bit of a
Fair
lie. I
enough.
know
Yeah,
these guys are also spread everywhere, but they're much more,
YouTube
yeah.
focused. Yeah.
So this is how we're going to go TYT, month of March, June, and then Breaking Points, March, June, and then add anything else that we hadn't talked
Democracy Now
about.
is a Democracy Now is still focused on network strategy from 1990s. Like, I don't know why, but
They
I
still
love
pull
the
it off.
channel. I love every. Yeah, it's just that the production values has
Uh,
stayed in early 2000s and never just
well, they
we're
have
gonna
an
stick with
app.
it.
They have an
Do
app.
they?
Yeah, to be
Oh,
fair
so
to
I haven't
them.
checked them out in a couple of years.
No, they have very informative. Okay, all right, Sam. Let's get this started. Let me know when if I ever need to stop or go over something. So let's start with the basics. So TYT posted, I mean, there are probably some mistakes here and there because I extracted the videos manually, so maybe I missed one or something like that, but I hope not. So they had 229 videos in the month of March. They did almost 24 million views based on that. Per video on average, they got 104,000 views on average. And they got 4,000 likes per video on average. I mean, that's not super important. I would let that
That
go.
seems very low to me, but okay.
But you'll see it's similar with, there's one part that's interesting with that. You'll see, we'll get to that. But then, okay, so that's really the basics. What I wanted to do was look at the kind of content. And pretty much, let's actually first, before that, let's look at their top 10 most viewed videos. So these are their top 10 most viewed videos in the month of March. You can see a Meghan McCain one, topped everything. Republican judge arrested, Trump, Sharon Osbourne, Mitch McConnell, and it kind of gives you an idea of the videos that they have, you know, so kind of Republican or Trump, or I categorize some of them as popular. So these are their top 10 videos for the month of March. Now let's get a little bit into each category.
So wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell us the categories?
True, I should tell the categories before we go over them.
Yeah, tell us the categories and sort of give us maybe one example for each.
Yeah, okay. So the categories that I put, and a video could fall into more than one category. It usually fell into one.
So there is overlap.
Yeah, and they were, again, based on the headline. I didn't watch the videos, of course. So one of the categories that I have are Republicans. By Republicans, I mean that video, the topic of the video is really like about a Republican person or the Republican Party or the GOP. So an example.
But not Trump.
No, sorry, very good point. Trump is the only one that I made sure that, yeah, if I categorize the video as Trump, I wouldn't also put it Republican. So that's a very good point. So I excluded Trump from the Republican bunch, just to differentiate. Very good point there, Sam. So for an example of the Republican is Republican judge arrested for voter fraud. Senator Mitch McConnell retiring. So these two videos, I just categorized them as Republican, for instance. And then a Trump
I just heard that, by the way. That's interesting news.
Yeah, and then a Trump one is, you know, Trump's CPAC speech, the most insane moments. Alex Jones, I wish I never met Trump. I'm so sick of him. That's the kind of
anything with Trump.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Trump related kind. The Democrat ones is just the opposite of the Republican.
Oh, so another category are Democrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, please keep on doing this. Seriously, not being sarcastic.
For my own brain.
Yeah.
No, I'm for my own, like, yeah.
I know, but I just want to let you know I wasn't being sarcastic. For Democrats, you know, should Biden fire Harris?
Give me a moment.
Headphones already? Okay.
Sorry about that, technical difficulties. Low batteries as always.
No worries. We're back. Okay, where were we, Sam? I think Democrats, I told you, it's the same thing as the Republicans. Yeah. So example.
Democratic, anything with the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Democratic Party, and especially person. I mean, a lot of the TYT videos, especially, they're framed that way, right? Like, should Biden fire Harris for this or that? So possibly if you watch the video, another theme would arise, but based on the headlines, it's just kind of that. Then domestic issue. So anything, any kind of domestic issue is another category. So Mitch McConnell, Americans didn't need stimulus. So for instance, that I would categorize as Republican. Mitch McConnell's Republican, right? and then Americans
also domestic.
Yeah, domestic issue about stimulus, for instance. Another example, multi-million-dollar scandal at USPS, only domestic issue. Then I have another category that's very similar. I called it domestic incidents. There might be some overlaps when we look at more examples. Some people might think it's domestic issue, domestic incident.
Yeah, but that's the only categories I didn't really found the distinction.
Yeah, it was like, for instance, domestic incident. Landlord evicts tenants at gunpoint. I mean, you know, it's not about housing across the country. It kind of seemed like a bit specific, if you ask me, you know. Or
I see what you mean about incident, like let's say a storming of the Capitol is incident. I see what you mean, but I would say you could have just merged them.
Yeah, for sure. Or like, you know, police arrest COVID crazy spring breakers. But yeah, I mean, you know, they're pretty much the same. The next category is electoral politics. So anything about, you know, people are voting in Arizona. Let me actually read a proper example. Why am I making one up?
Oh, okay.
Do I have one here? Ooh, I don't see examples, but sorry, I don't have any examples of that here because there weren't that many videos on it. But you know,
Streets.
it's about electoral politics. And then the next one is foreign, not many there. So not foreign policy or foreign issue only, but just even foreign stories about other countries. And some of them were US related. So an example is perhaps, what do I have something here? You know, there was one like COVID cases increasing in Brazil or something. Then media, stories about the media. Fox News said that, CNN said this. Then there are two categories which again overlap, and then we're pretty much done because another category is global, and there were barely any global stories. So we'll get into that a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what's the difference between global and foreign?
Oh, well, global is like a global story, like um, about not just one country, but about like, you know, multiple countries, a story that has to do with the world. Like there was one story like WHO recommends masks even for vaccinated people. So, you know, that's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
for
So like
everyone.
international organizations or something like that.
Yeah, like kind of everyone, not just one specific country.
Okay.
And yeah, and pop
And
and
sorry, puppet story and socialist.
I mean, pop, I was kind of, you know, trying to give it a, let me find
Like more
something.
like Britney Spears type.
Like here, top five pop billionaire Kylie Jenner's tone deaf GoFundMe plea. SpaceX rocket nails landing, then explodes. Pilot's bizarre rant caught on hot mic. These are kind of popular stories. And social stories, I mean, they were just a bit more, there's a bit more to them, I would say, to me. But again, hard to categorize. They're kind of the same. Like, yeah, they're kind of the same. Like, I don't know, parents teaching kids to burn masks. You'll see, to be honest, the social category came out when I started doing breaking points and the rising. I only had popular when I started going through breaking points and the rising.
Can you give me one example from Breaking Point?
Yeah, it seemed to me it was a
Socialist.
bit unfair to categorize them as popular. So let me find a social one from Rising. Do I have one here? Yeah. So Crystal and Sager, Teen Vogue staffer who led cancellation caught using N-word on Twitter. So I mean, you know, it's like categorized as social. It could be popular. There's something there. It's talking about you know, the cancel
And
culture being targeted someone. Another one is Glenn Beck says Dr. Seuss ban is fascism. Again,
that wouldn't
popular
be in media. Glenn Beck sort of
that also media. So Glenn Beck is
uh,
definitely media, but then the Dr. Seuss ban, you
also
know,
pop.
yeah,
Yeah, fair
pop
enough. No, no, I
social.
see.
Don't I wouldn't get, you know, I would have had to
Two.
spend a lot of time, you know, really defining the categories,
No, no,
getting
I'm
someone else.
surprised. I would have used broader categories for the domestic thing, for the global foreign thing, and for this thing for
Yeah.
pop and but I
And
see your
from
distinctions. It's just
yeah,
hard to. You have to actually. It's that's okay. Fair enough.
from
Yeah.
past
Okay. No, I
experience, I
just wanted
would
to
say,
understand.
yeah, no, from past experience, I would say that whenever you do these content analysis, the more you kind of break it down, that's when you see a bit more interesting stuff, I find. So I try to break it down as
Maybe you
much
see
as I
better
could.
trends. Yeah, in better
Exactly.
insights, data
Because if you're
insights.
too overall, yeah, if it's too overall, nah. But
Yeah, they're all
okay.
progressives.
On that
Progressive
note,
news.
not thank you for reminding me to go over the categories. Let's see what TYT did in the month of March. So I categorized 20% of their videos, so 45 of them, to being about Republicans. And then if you add Republicans and the Trump related ones and the ones to Fox News, that exceeds almost a third of their videos. So a third of their videos are kind of in this category of about Republicans and right wingers. So let's look at a few of these examples. I think we went over the Trump ones, you know, and I'll be flashing these on the screen so people can just see it. The Republican ones, you know, Mitch McConnell, again, Americans didn't need stimulus. Ted Cruz's approval rating plummets. So kind of videos like this. So yeah, 20% were pretty much, sorry, nearly 30% were Republican, Trump, and Fox News, 20% just Republicans if you exclude Trump. Then Democrats, a good 23% of their videos from the month of March were about Democrats. And the kind of Democrats you see here are their top 5 stories. So should Biden fire Harris? I also included progressives and Democrats. People don't get too angry about this. They literally had, like, each of them had one video where they put the word progressive there. So I was just like, whatever. Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo, they had a lot of videos, and I put them as Democrats as well. So here you can see their top 5. And we'll get into, I also took out some of the issues. We'll see some of the more specific domestic issues. We'll touch on the ones that are featured the most. Go ahead.
No, I go ahead. I have a major question about,
please,
like, the fundamentals of this. You finished with June breakdown or
no? Okay,
March breakdown.
You want to finish with March breakdown? Okay, then
yeah, I think you should break it down.
Let's do domestic issues. So domestic issues were again big. A quarter of their videos, were about domestic issues, and of course they usually overlap with a Republican or a Democrat. And here you see their top 5 domestic issue stories for the month of March. Of course, the Chauvin lawyer tries to fight MMA fighter. That was top there, but FBI fake Brett Kavanaugh's background check, Mitch McConnell. So you see again, these are the kind of the 5 biggest domestic issues, domestic issue videos. Then media is another big one. And in media, you can really see that the focus is, a lot of it has to do with Fox News. So in the top 5, 3 of them are Fox News related: Tucker Carlson, Hannity, and then there were like 2 other ones, and Meghan McCain was up there too. And finally, let's look at the popular and social stories. To be fair, they had less of these kind of stories, TYT. I don't know if I mentioned this already, than I would have assumed. But here are the top 5 popular stories. So Kylie Jenner, like I mentioned, pilot's bizarre rant, elderly Asian woman turns tables on attacker. And again, if like this video, and
all of these, I suppose you could argue, has potential. You can get into, for example, elderly Asian woman turns tables on attacker, you can talk about Asian stereotypes.
Exactly.
Or something.
But it was,
could be substance.
100%. And like I said, I only went with the headlines. And then top 5 social, which are also very similar. Parents teaching kids to burn masks. Papa John's founder, I can't stop saying the N-word. But yeah, and global stories, I mean, they had so little. Foreign stories, they had so little. It was just like a handful of stories. So I didn't even get the most popular ones. But yeah, that's March of 2021. Go ahead, Sam.
So I had a major problem. And the major problem I have is that you say, from what I've seen from TYT and Breaking Points, to be honest, and I'm just looking at TYT right now, but you say they cover domestic issues 56 videos, domestic incidents 18 videos. They did apparently 229 videos overall, and foreign videos 6 videos, global videos 3 videos.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't you say all the other, like, I would say, like, I just think all their videos are domestic issues, aren't they?
Yeah.
Except those 6 maybe that you found out. So I don't understand, why did you, like, how did you get to this? Why only did you consider this 56 out of the 229? Or not 56, actually 56 plus 18 out of 229.
You're right, but I mean, I think if you do that, then there's not much to talk about, So you can consider these if you want, like a little bit of a subcategorization.
No, but you said there are category overlaps, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't understand. You have like 52 videos Democrats, and you have 45 videos Republicans.
Yeah.
Then you have domestic issues 56. I would imagine all the Democrat and Republican and Trump videos, all of them would be domestic, because
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, they could be. I mean, it could be, but look, I think
they are about a political party of the national country.
No, 100%.
So I just think that there, I don't know. I mean, with all due respect,
it wouldn't enlighten anything if we went that way, right? It would enlighten more. I mean, sure, you can, if you want, if it makes you happier, we can say that.
I just think I think your category is just simply wrong there.
What do you mean?
Okay. The domestic issue, domestic incident one, that can't be right. I think there can't. Why? Because you yourself in your data put that 45 videos they have about Republicans, and they have 52 videos about Democrats. Yeah, These are domestic issues or domestic incidents. because they are about the political party of that
But
domestic country.
they're about the
And then you have,
person, you know? They're about like the person or the category.
so okay, I'm just okay, all right. But the categorization, I think, especially on domestic issues, I would have just got rid of that in my view, because that's very vague, man. I don't understand your standards for that.
For which one?
Domestic issues.
But it's about like a domestic issue, like infrastructure,
Well,
healthcare.
okay, why isn't something about Mitch McConnell isn't a domestic issue? He's the head of the.
I
He's
mean,
the
sure,
head,
that's
like
a
he was the.
domestic. That's a domestic. I mean, if you wanted, I could have been like, okay, 95% of the videos are about domestic issues. If you want it, right?
And then
Within that,
between those domestic issues,
sure.
10% are. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just think this is too vague right now. I don't understand
but
the
the way that
standards.
you're saying it would become much vaguer.
It would become broader, but more. I think it would be more clearly defined, but broader.
But you see also
Sure.
like
But
the Republican and Democrat ones, they're like, you know, about specific Republicans saying something. I understand that, sure, they're in the US, they're Americans, so
okay,
everything
sure,
is domestic.
but I don't
understand what
understand
you're
the
saying.
criteria. I don't understand the criteria for domestic incident or domestic issue. And it just doesn't make sense to me that they only did 6 or let's say 9 foreign stories out of 229. And so how do we, like, domestic and foreign is just too broad category.
Yeah.
Again, it's just I think we covered my problem with this thing.
I mean,
yeah.
I completely understand what you're saying, but I think the way you would go it, I would just subcategorize within it. And if you don't go beyond that, then there's like nothing there.
But right now, I think it's just I'm sorry, but I just don't think that category reflects anything. You can't, because nobody can know your exact standards about domestic issues.
It's an issue. What do you mean? It's about a domestic issue. What part of that
Well,
don't you understand?
how do you define that exactly?
Like something that happens in the US, a domestic
but
issue for the US.
But you don't consider anything related to Republican Party or Democratic Party or Trump domestic issue, for example.
But fine,
you may not.
You can add those to it if you want. Sure, if you want, they're domestic.
Let me find. I'm trying to find examples in your.
But you know, it's if you wanted, I could have categorized it all as domestic, right?
Domestic issue, for example, domestic issues. Mitch McConnell, Americans didn't need a stimulus. So this is domestic issue, and this is a Republican thing.
So you see, it talks about an issue and about a Republican.
Okay. But wait, now let me go to Republicans or Democrats. Democrat. Should Biden fire Harris for this? For example, was that in domestic issues? I don't know. But no, if it wasn't,
no, I put that as just Democrats. So you could make that domestic issue if you wanted, but then everything is domestic issue. So I mean, now let's like move beyond that. And the thing is, I didn't categorize that as Democrat and domestic issue because based on that headline, all I see are the names of these two people. I mean, sure, it's a domestic issue of
US?
Of the US.
Okay.
I mean, sure, in that way, consider everything domestic issue if you want, and then take these categories.
That's why I'm saying this category is used. That's all I'm saying. That I think it's too. Yeah. Anyway, I just don't think you can. That's exactly my point. But
I see your point, but I don't think it changes much.
Raise my objection.
I'm glad you did. I don't think it changes much. I will see what people say, but I think this way it's more enlightening the way that I did it. You can see more what their videos are actually about.
Fire. I was bluffing. I love the category.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, you know, these kind of categories, when you do it properly, you have 2 or 3 people who discuss, go over it and do it in different ways. But even if I accepted to do it your way, then I would have just subcategorized it within it. And you would reach the same result.
That's exactly my point. Yeah. Exactly,
you would reach the same result. Okay, so let's move on to June. And keep this up. You're honestly doing good. I like this. And like this, you know, people can also tell me what they think.
This is like peer review.
Yeah, you're peer reviewing live. Okay, so this has to be, I mean, it's not even that much of a coincidence, but the number of videos that TYT had for June and March happened to be exactly the same. Or maybe when I took them, maybe I missed one here or there. But anyway, again,
they probably have it. I would assume they have a content strategy.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I mean, it's literally the same number, 229. But then their views,
that's weird.
Their views dropped nearly 3 million. This could be because over time,
Election.
people still watch the videos, or sure,
Oh, okay.
election. Yeah, that one. And then here, so just for the month of June, I did this view per subscriber. So per subscriber, I took their latest number of subscribers, and per subscriber in June, they got 4.1 views, and then we'll compare that to Breaking Points, and it's like terrible comparing to Breaking Points. But yeah, so per subscriber, they got 4 views. And if you remember, we did an older video on this. So I'll just read the numbers I had there. So number of views per subscriber in the old one that we had done with a few people, which was also for the month of May, had found something very similar, TYT 4.5. The old Rising was 24. Kyle Kalinske a little bit better at 8.3. Jimmy Dore a little bit better at 8, while the majority report had 4.9. So TYT out of all of them was also kind of had the least number of views per subscriber. But yeah, go ahead.
The highest amount of subscribers.
Yeah. Let's come back to this. Average views per video dropped like a good 10,000, and average likes per video dropped 300. But again, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this. So now let's look at their top 10 videos, for the month of June. So these are kind of the top 10 videos. You see, Sam, if anything catches your attention. If not, we can go. The Jimmy Dore TYT response to Jimmy Dore was their second most viewed video in the month of June.
I was surprised that it wasn't most, like, I was surprised. Yeah. I think the top one is, I'm bringing it up right now. The top
Trump
one is
Trump meltdown
over new book. Although Trump has that clickbaity thingy that because this is the part of the big caveat I'm going to add at the end, because these datas are quite interestingly collected as well. But that was one of the bigger surprises to me.
And then the Trump ones. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just surprise. And generally speaking, in terms of like content, I thought maybe you wanted my take, or like I was surprised by the constant presence of Meghan McCain.
I counted how many there are, so I'll tell you that after too. You were surprised? I'm not, because she's always on my feed with TYT.
No, I don't.
Really?
But
this actually surprised you? Okay, I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, I don't I don't watch TYT that much or anything.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. But the Meghan McCain ones are everywhere. They always pop up. And also, maybe I didn't even mention the average of views per category. So these will be on the screen when we show them. I mean, there's so much to say. But for instance, the average, which was 91,000 views per video in June. For the Trump-related ones, it was 171,000. So almost double the amount of views. I mean, the Trump-related videos did the best for TYT. You can see foreign does nothing, like 36,000 for the month of June. What else does good? The popular stories, of course, they do well. And the Republicans are just like right there and bang on, like right in the middle. So I don't know if you want to look again at every one of these kind of categories. Is there one that catches your attention that you want us to look at, kind of the stories, their top 5?
What they stories, let me take another look at the stories.
Yeah, I'm looking at Republican and Trump here.
I found this is not, by the way, this is a tragic story, but this one was funny. White cops beat undercover black cops.
Yeah, under which one is that?
It's like
domestic incident,
TYT,
right? Yeah.
June.
Yeah,
overall,
domestic incident. Yeah, sorry. Also in domestic incident, it was their highest video.
Okay, that just to me is just like, that's like something out of a Monty Python sketch or something. That, oh, I'm a cop myself, you racist assholes. Like that was but besides that, it's just it's very Meghan McCain, a lot about Trump, all that type thing. Nothing surprising.
Yeah, so you see those are those stories, and then so those are those. Anything else to mention about TYT before we move on to breaking points?
No,
I don't think so.
I'm gonna give I thought we give an overall assessment at the end, so
100%.
I'm saving everything for that.
Beautiful. Okay, let's keep on going then. Let's look at the Rising.
David.
Let me put this up. Okay, so this is the rising from the month of March. And for the hill, I mean, TYT, I took every single video that they had, but for rising, sorry, for the hill, I only took rising. I mean, the other videos that they post, I thought it would have been unfair if I included them. It would have completely ruined their numbers and everything. They're just clips that
And
they
yeah, it's
post there.
C-SPAN
Yeah,
reruns.
exactly.
So,
So number of videos, they did 211, breaking points a bit less, but keeping it up there. Number of views, 23 million, nearly 24 million. So with 10 less videos, they still did better than TYT. Not even 10,
and by the way,
almost, yeah,
that's you
18.
managed to find the number of the views of their 211 videos, not the hills.
Yeah,
Right?
because I extracted every single video manually. Yep.
Well done.
Yep.
Yeah, fun. Well,
so the number of views, average views per video, they did 114,000, which is 10,000 higher than TYT's month of March. And this is why you'll see average likes, but there's for breaking points is insane. But for the rising, you see they did the same 4,000 on average, which is identical to what I had found for March. I rounded all the numbers to the closest thousand. So let's look at the March top 10 videos. So you see, Sam, if any of them kind of catch your attention, I don't know, but they had the highest that they had of nearly 1.5 million for this video. I had trouble categorizing this one. There's so many things happening. Minnesota fisherman blows CNN mind with truth about Biden. I put media and Democrats, but an incident, I think also, I mean, this one was just like, I don't know. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the high, like Minnesota fisherman blows CNN's mind with the truth about Biden. I mean, I'm very surprised, but maybe because they have access to their analytics, maybe, I don't know, because you have a lot of CNN there in the top, like in the top 5, there's 2 CNN.
Yeah.
So maybe if you do put on the name of the big channels that plays a role in, I'm surprised. I keep wanting to jump to my whole thing. So yeah, but no, none of them really, none of them stand out even.
Yeah, let's keep on going then. Okay, so Republicans, you can already see they make much less videos about Republicans. It was only 28 of their videos, which comes out to 13%.
And even in that case, for example, you put everything we know about underage sex trafficking investigation against Matt Gaetz. You could argue that's not. That's one of those ones that's like you could argue that's very individually focused, because Matt Gaetz is somebody who has been pretty much a pariah from the Republican
I put that
Party
one as Republican.
of this. No, fair enough, I think. Yeah. But I'm just saying, yeah, they do far less Republican, and even when they do, I don't think they are so much Republican focused as.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, true. No, I get what you're saying. So that was that. They did quite a bit of Trump related as well. So they had a good 24 videos. Oh shit, I didn't calculate the percentage there. It probably drops on 10% or less of their videos. So they did a lot of Trump in the month of March as well. You can see where are the major Trump videos that they did. Oh wait, I don't have the top 5 here, unfortunately. Then Democrats. Okay, so they did a lot more videos about Democrats. 31% of their videos were about Democrats. That's like 71 videos in total that talked about that. So they were about Democrats. So here we're looking at the top 5. So of course the fisherman, the Biden one, admin goes there. Again Biden. So all these Biden ones. A little bit about Obama. And are Dems facing near certain doom in midterms was the 5th biggest Democrat story. Domestic issues. 40% of their videos were about domestic issues. So really, from the headline, you could tell that it talked about an issue. So the important thing here is issue. Whereas in March, they had only 24% for TYT. And yeah, so they're at 40%. So much more. And we can look at some of the videos that they did. So they talk about Chris Cuomo a lot, the UFO incidents. I mean, the UFO incidents are so focused on the US that I think it's fair to say domestic. I mean, that report that came
Yeah,
out a
that's
while.
actually no, come on. That should have been categorized as global, I think.
But yo, the focus is so much on the US. Like, okay, this is not on that report, but for instance, that report that the Pentagon put out, it's literally like based around their base. Like they counted all the incidents around their base. So they somehow
Yes.
made UFO also about the US, to be completely honest.
Okay, sure, but you
Uh,
again, we have a problem with that's the problem of science, yeah, definitions. But yeah, next time we should have a production meeting about this. But okay.
well, we did. I mean, anyway, there's so few. Okay, let's say there's one UFO video.
Yeah,
If you put
there's
it there, it doesn't change anything, you
yeah,
know.
it doesn't as long as
And
there is overlap and stuff.
distinguishing between foreign and domestic, that was quite an easy one.
You're considering UFOs domestic, but then you
Because of
consider
the way
Biden
that they
and
do it.
Kamala Harris. I don't get
Yeah, and I mean it's one UFO video, and just because of how I know that they covered them, and
Yeah,
how you can
fair
see
enough,
here,
fair enough.
Bezos, CDC, Amazon. Amazon is a lot. We'll get into that. Amazon comes up a lot. Domestic incidents, they had much less. They had 5 videos. Electoral politics, so video about electoral, they had quite a few, 14. So midterms, are they facing doom? Andrew Yang, again, a couple of Andrew Yang. Arizona voters punish cinema after minimum wage vote. So new poll. So that's what the politics one is, electoral politics. Foreign, they had a few Sam, so you can see the foreign ones, and some of them are you could categorize as foreign policy, like related to the US. I mean, most of them are here. So the foreign one are about Afghanistan, and what else? Syria. I mean, they didn't have that many. They just had 15. And then again,
To be
yeah,
honest, I wouldn't. Yeah, I again, like in terms of even the foreign ones, 2 of them I think are really like the UFO one, where the way the story is put and is told is very much in a domestic way. So.
but these foreign ones are foreign policy. I mean, we're talking about Afghanistan. We're talking
Sure,
about
sure, foreign policy, but
Afghanistan.
I still,
This one
but I
literally
still
has the
think the
word
way they
foreign
put it.
policy.
No, I'm just commenting on the
Serious track.
substance rather than the
Yeah.
categorization right now.
Okay, and then
Yeah,
let's
but
move
yeah.
on to media. Okay, a lot of videos about media, of course, what CNN happens, what MSNBC, WAPO, which I believe is Washington Post. I didn't know about that. And that's that. They don't have anything too much else. 2 popular stories, 6 social stories. I have the biggest social stories.
So yeah, cancellation was Teen Vogue stuff.
Okay, let's move to
Glenn
June.
Beck.
So
yeah, let's move to June.
So June, this is when Breaking Points pretty much had their first month. They even started, they didn't start from the very beginning. There are a few days they weren't active yet, and then they started. So they posted only 95 videos compared to 211 when they were on the hill. But their number of views were only 2 million less. The view per subscriber, and that's not even fair to them because I took their current subscribers. They had less a few weeks ago or a month ago. Now they're at 500,000, but they got 42 views per subscriber now. But of course, they have new subscribers.
You have to, yeah, but you have to adjust that with the fact
100%.
that they did set up a new channel as well. So a lot
100%.
of people would. I personally watched a couple of videos just out of curiosity to see what's going on.
100%.
So yeah, that you're right. New subscribers coming, but at the same time, there is the curiosity factor, so that they balance each other out. Maybe I mean, this is not scientific.
No, 100%. Very fair enough. I mean, it's very good caveat. Then their average views per video, 212,000, which is a little bit less than double what they did in the month of March. But then then I removed Joe Rogan because they had almost 10 videos. 2 or 3 of them were over 1 million, like 1.5 million with Joe Rogan. So if you remove those, their views, their average drops down to 172,000. And the only reason I kept the average likes per video is because they got so many. They got 11,000.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Well said. Wow. And
I mean, compared to, especially now with the previous numbers we've seen, it's just TYT one seems so low. Anyways,
it is what it is. And then Breaking Points. Okay, overall, here are the top 10 stories we're looking at. As I said, Joe Rogan 1.5 million, 1.3. I mean, shit, the first 4 are Joe Rogan. So
We
they
should cover Joe
even, that was
Rogan.
so smart getting Joe Rogan on that time. Well, yeah, we could, but I mean, they had Joe Rogan and they interviewed him and
If
used
something
this
comes up.
studio. So Republicans, only 3 videos that I found like explicitly says that it's talking about Republicans. Trump dropped a lot, now only 4, and they had done 24 before. Democrats, 9% of their videos, a bit more. So they had 9 videos that were about Democrats. Let's look at some of the videos here. You can see their top 5s. So are Dems screwed? By Biden regrets Kamala Harris pick, Biden's presidency, Hillary. There you go. Those are that. And then domestic issues. So once again, a lot of their stories, even from the headline, you could tell that they're talking about an issue. So here I put the top 10 again. Amazon, a lot of Amazon stories. I'll have number on this at the end when we're wrapping up, just for wrap up and give our conclusions. You can see Amazon top set, then elites turning the country into clown country, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's cancel culture. Everyone's cancel culture. Perhaps I could have put it as popular or social story, that 4th one. That could have possibly, yeah, that's my bad. There you go. You see the last one is about bailouts for American Airlines and all that. Then what else? Domestic incident. They barely had any. Electoral politics. They only had 7. Media, they had a few. They had 8, so not too many. And social stories. So they had a few stories that I called social. A lot of them were Joe Rogan. So that's why their views on average are really high, like 382,000. But yeah, here you can see the social ones again. They're dominated by Joe Rogan. So, and that's that. Global, they did a few, and they had this category of, I had a category of other. I couldn't classify them, and those were the ones where they were showing their studios and everything. So Sam, before we move to more of like, your feedback, your criticisms, and your take and all that, I just have this section on extras, so honorable mentions. So people who featured quite a bit in the videos. With TYT, Nina Turner was in 8 videos, and this is March and June together. So Nina Turner featured a few times. They had a town hall also. Tucker Carlson, they did quite a few videos specifically on Tucker Carlson. Bernie Sanders came up with 8 videos. Fox News, 15 videos excluding the Tucker Carlson ones. And then 2 with Sean Hannity. TYT also did Amazon videos. They did a lot of videos with the word voting rights in it, specifically the keyword. Infrastructure. Meghan McCain had 10 videos in total. So more Meghan McCain than Nina Turner, you can see during those 2 months. Joe Manchin came up a lot.
In a negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Mitch McConnell came up a lot. LGBTQ and trans together, that 10 videos. So this is a little bit of breakdown of the issues as far as I could go. I couldn't go further to really break it down. Now, the rising, big focus on Amazon, right? Amazon rising and breaking points together. So March and June together. 15 videos for Amazon, 4 for Bezos. They did some infrastructure, filibuster.
That 4 is part of that 15 or
no, it's separate.
Extra?
It's 4 extra. So you can put 19 if you want Amazon and Bezos together. Infrastructure, Bernie, Como, of course. I mean, if you recall, he was going through quite a big scandal, I think, in March, but now it's kind of
two biggest scandals.
2 scandals, yeah. Right? The sexual assault one, and also his handling of COVID. Yes.
And sending people elderly early. Oh, sorry, covering 50% of the deaths.
Yeah,
in New York.
And that's it. Andrew Yang, 6 videos they did. That's when he was running, of course, for mayor of New York. And finally, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan and Bernie with 11.
Yeah.
Up there fighting it up.
Yeah, Bernie fighting the battle. But Sam, okay, I think these are breakdowns, so I can give a few overall general conclusions that I have, but maybe you can go ahead. I've talked a lot.
I just wanted to give my caveat now, which is basically that we are dealing with algorithms and basically YouTube algorithm changes constantly, or Google algorithm changes constantly, and they may promote certain things in certain times, or there's all these psychological things they try to use to subliminally push certain things. I am one of those people who is in the camp that they probably fail whenever they try to do it, like subliminal messaging and all that. And I don't think they actually can push, like I don't believe in this idea that social media is changing the way we think or changing our ideas or making us more divisive. I don't believe in any of that. But I do think, like, in terms of, like, for example, like I sleep at night and I put YouTube on autoplay,
Mm-hmm.
and because I watch like political comedy, after a while it automatically goes to late night comedians, some of whom I despise.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asleep already, so the next day I see it's been, I watched the video in full, it's in my history and all that.
Okay.
So there's all these things happening,
But
and
what's your point with this overall? I
so I
mean,
think
I think you can make several
so.
points with
There's
what you're saying.
major and for example, I know this about Netflix, I don't know about YouTube. For example, Netflix, if I'm not mistaken, if you watch 2 minutes of a show or something, they count that as a view or something, or they recently reduced it maybe even further to 30 seconds or something. So all these views, all these things, there's all these problems with, specifically with the data itself. Forget about our categorization and the way we interpreted it. There is problems with the data collection itself that one has to take into account. And for example, if you're TYT, if you have 5 million subscribers, it's much more likely that that you come into their autoplay or something. Maybe, I don't know about the YouTube. Maybe it's less likely depending on the algorithm. So I think all of those things, and there's all these talks. I never seen any evidence, that's why I don't talk about it. There's all these talks about suppression of the subscribers and deleting of unsubscribing and all that. So who knows, maybe
but what's your kind of point here with overall here? Like, I mean, because what you're
the
saying affects
the data itself is very skewed and very problematic.
But in what sense though? I mean, regarding what?
So keep
because
that in mind.
Everything that you're saying affects all these videos and both channels,
equally.
right? Yeah.
Well, no, we don't know equally or not. No, that's what. Yeah, but you have to keep that in mind. That
no, for sure. But I just wanted to see, like
if it was a scientific study, and I want to get to a broader point that these organizations like Google and YouTube and all of that should be publicly owned, so their data is public. I mean, unless it's a private person's data, but you can grab, like right now, all of these data, all of these views, all of this, we are going based on a company's definition of views and all that. So we have to keep that with a pinch of salt, so to speak. That's all I'm saying. I'm just adding a pinch of salt. I'm not trying to make it.
I understand what I get what you're saying, but I still don't fully see, like, I mean, I understand what you're saying. The algorithm and the way YouTube works and their system affects which videos might get more viewed, right? I mean, so is that one relevant point here?
Yeah, sure. And all of the data that we are getting may be wrong because of all these issues, because we have no way
all be equally wrong, right? So I mean, like, if they count a view for 30 seconds, so all the videos will get like one view if somebody watched 30 seconds.
Respect, yeah, but what about what if one channel is being suppressed and another one is not? Or that.
No, that one, that's fair. Yeah. No, that's a fair point.
I don't know. By the way, this may be a conspiracy theory, but because of the secrecy of companies and the fact that partially they have to, because of the world we live in, they can't share their algorithm. That's their whole business model. So there's no way for us to know. So
and they change it all the time. I mean, a tiny caveat just about something, just to move on. I once asked a professor, I was like, Google Trends, do scientists, have they started using Google Trends, as like data? He says the issue is you don't know, and there it's super relevant. He's like, you don't know how they categorize different themes, and that could change. So you're comparing one thing you found now to a year ago, and there I was like, true. I mean, Google Trends is really good for getting a first overview, but that's so true when they change their algorithm and how they define things.
you have to get into like all of those
Yeah.
details, right? Like, that I'm adding a
And
pinch
yeah,
of salt
no,
to
no, for
say,
sure.
don't take this as a
Oh.
scientific study or anything.
I mean, even if we were doing a scientific study, though, this data would be the same. We would just add all this, the categorization that I did,
Yes.
and everything will be
You
better.
would
But,
add like 20 pages of
but yeah.
methodology, explanation,
No, I mean, there are
literature review.
limitations.
Yeah,
There are
no.
limitations.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
if you want to look at
But
YouTube data
I
is
think
YouTube data.
do you agree? Like, I would think that's one of the main reasons I want these companies, besides freedom of speech, I want them to be publicly owned, because I think it's just part of infrastructure of our communication now. I don't get it. I don't
No,
know.
for sure,
That's
it
my
has
view.
become.
And that way, the data, you can trust the data, or at least there is a definition. You might not agree with the definition, but you can look at it and say, okay, that's what I mean by this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Fair enough. Okay. I don't know if you have any other points. Maybe you
So
do. I
that
was
was
going
my
to.
big caveat that I was,
Okay.
sorry, that was my big caveat I
That
was
was.
teasing all throughout.
Well, thank you for that. Let me, a few, I mean, I've already mentioned my conclusions, a few small ones that I drew from the thing itself before we talk about something else, my content analysis, which is, well, as expected, TYT is super Trump, Republican dominated. Both channels barely pay any attention to foreign or global issues. Really, a lot of media stories for both of them. And I'm not passing judgment. These can all be good
Just
and they can be
descriptive.
content. I'm just
Right now, we are
describing,
just being
yeah.
descriptive. Yeah.
TYT's month of June was worse than March. I don't know if that's a main conclusion, but it's just a funny observation. And it
It's
could be
a
because
conclusion.
time has passed. Breaking points are turning in insane views. I don't know why I wrote that down, but it's the case. And
Does not feel like a scientific conclusion, but is
no,
a
I'm just drawing conclusions on what
No,
we've seen,
I'm
on
just
the
making,
videos that we've
I was
seen.
just making it,
Yeah.
no, I was just making a joke out of your language, but okay.
And one thing that I was perhaps surprised with, as TYT didn't have so many like pop or social kind of stories. Like I told you, I was surprised there weren't more Karen videos, although they post so many. I guess in May and in the months of March and June, they didn't do too many videos on Karen or these kind of
Or they
videos.
didn't mention them in titles.
Yeah. And I guess they really stopped doing those older videos, or maybe they don't post them. Maybe it's for the members only, but the ones that Jimmy Dore has brought up in their back and forth beef, looking at celebrities, this and that,
Oh,
and these kind of things.
that was their
That's
old
old.
show.
Yeah.
That was their old.
That's their old show. But
But
yeah, that's kind of what I got from looking at just these 2 to 3 months, that I had nothing that surprised me too much. Nothing that surprised me too much. But and breaking points, you can really add that they 100% don't have that focus on Republicans. So TYT very much, kind of like other big Democrat channels, they're very focused on, Republicans, whereas breaking points didn't seem to care that much about it, and rising to lesser extent too. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else.
Sure, I have kind of two major sort of interests, like takes. Nothing too interesting, to be completely honest.
Nah,
but
don't sell yourself short. Let's see.
Wasn't fish, but one thing was, I think I mentioned this in previous videos, if anybody's seen it, that I am always surprised of how domestically focused the whole left in US, or the progressive world, not just in the US, even I would say Novara Media for example, UK, let's say Novara Media is similar to Breaking Points of UK or something. They're really good. And it's just so, because my main attraction to the left was this internationalism, really.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the main when I was younger. Now maybe it's different, maybe it's an economic thing. But I like the the whole internationalism, and the fact that race and gender and all that bullshit has nothing to do with anything. So I really like that, and sex, well, all that thing. So I'm always surprised of how, like, even like in the way they cover like Afghanistan, there are still American troops there. Oh my God! Like, yeah, okay, yeah.
No, I mean, fair enough. I think it really puts a number behind that. It really puts a number behind that, and it really seems like in the progressive YouTube world, I mean, very little attention is played to like global issues or foreign policy.
There's a coup.
And when I had started, like became like politicized, and used to watch Democracy Now! A lot and The Real News, they're like 50% about foreign countries, global, like US related, of course. But yeah, right now the
Mostly,
space
yeah.
is very
Although
domestic.
even,
And Bernie
yeah, even
Sanders himself was extremely domestic
domestic,
focused. That whole movement was extremely
sure.
domestic focused too, you could say.
I mean, to be fair, if you focus too much on his foreign policy, just,
Yeah.
there would have been a, either a suicide or a,
Yeah.
assassination or
One
something.
thing at a
But
time.
anyway,
One thing at a time. Let's start with healthcare and get rid of
yeah,
student
let's
loans.
not talk too much about Pentagon right now, Bernie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But yeah, no, very good point. What was your
no,
second
yeah,
point?
just very surprised always by that left thing. I don't know, I mean, I say I'm very surprised by that, but then again, I never watch anything from the right, so maybe the
Yeah,
right is more domestically focused. So I don't know,
true. Fair enough.
relative to what, I don't know. Relative, I guess, to European channels, probably relative to BBC, which I
Yeah.
watch. Yeah. No,
So
just
one
joking.
second.
Sorry, everybody. Yeah, and the second point I wanted to make was that, to be honest, maybe this came to my mind because I watched the Rania Khalek, I may be mispronouncing her name, interview yesterday on Primo channel, Primo Radical, if I'm not mispronouncing it. And she said, she made a great point at the end, which they delve into some differences within the leftist world and progressive world and all that. And she says, I think there was the Bernie Sanders movement, which brought together a lot of leftists together, which in my view, a lot of them, most leftists around the world, everywhere I've been, are far more nationally or domestically focused. But then you have the more like active leftists that are more international and more, like Abby Martins of the world and Aaron Martins of the world. So I think Bernie Sanders created this sort of broad church, and now that sort of didn't come to anything. But even if it did came to power, like Trump, there was internal conflict. Like now that sort of campaign has finished and everything is settled, the differences are bubbling up. And from our sort of breakdown of their content, I do think we can see clearly that they are serving two different audiences, and they're all getting good views and all that. I mean, obviously TYT not doing as great in some measurements, but then again, this wasn't a year-long study or anything. It was just 2 months. So I do think they serve to, like, people who watch TYT watch it for the usual dunk on the mainstream media, on Fox News, not even mainstream, Republicans,
right
social
wingers,
conservative people, as people who nag like Meghan McCain. From what I remember from her, I haven't watched anything from her for years. And so just like it seems to be like within the left or progressive world or whatever, there seems to be quite a lot of variety of, and I do think, in my experience, majority of people who are for leftist policies and inside their own country are not kind enough to extend that to people of other countries. And or maybe I'm putting it in a very biased way. They're more focused nationally and all that. So to be honest, in my experience, most socialists are national socialists, and I know that comes with very negative connotations, but that's the best way I can describe them. And so I'm not. I'm in a way that was interesting, but
that's a good point. I mean, the focus
just gave me some data I can back up my already foregone conclusions.
No, fair enough. No, those are good points. And that's like one thing that comes out clearly, right? I mean, there's no way, like, my categorization, like anyone, you could have found the pigeon to categorize them, and they would have the foreign related stories are easily distinguishable. So this conclusion about, very domestic focus. But I guess, unlike what Rania Khalek is saying, even Breaking Points, their content is very domestic focused, but to a different left audience. I mean, not so much concerned with the people who want to bash like Republicans or maybe just more Democrats, but no, people who are more to the left of that.
People want to bash Nancy Pelosi.
So they want to criticize Nancy Pelosi, bash Nancy Pelosi, and then concerned with domestic issues that are, of course,
Or
extremely
AOCs.
important. Yeah, AOC's name didn't show up too many times. I'm not surprised. I don't see it too often, but yeah. And
to be fair, by the way,
domestic issues are important anyway. I mean, it's not to say
I
that they're not
wish
important, but sorry, and I'm just gonna say, with the Iraq war and Afghanistan war kind of really having the ending in a way, I mean, being less talked about in the past like 5, 6, 7, 8 years has really like even decreased the focus of US media or US left on foreign policy or global issues.
I don't know. Even man, even you, we've had this discussion, I think, on our channel before, because even during Iraq war, when they were focusing, let's say, on like democracy, now you mentioned, I don't like the way they cover it is so US focused,
Yeah.
like, it's always from the angle of this empire, and like everybody else is this like these agents that lack free will, and everything is the empire and then Pentagon and all that. To be honest, I've never been a. I mean, this is
I mean,
Iraq,
to
though.
be
I
fair
have
to
never
them,
followed their
they are
South American.
American. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that for anyone, though. But I was going to say, I mean, they are American media organizations. So, I mean, they're always going to come kind of with that lens of, even looking
Sure.
at global issues.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, yeah, fair. And it's harder to, and it's almost impossible, let's say, to get information from a recently invaded country, but you can get some information from like military of the US or something.
Yeah.
No, there is good, like there are obviously caveats and all that, but I always have a problem with the way they cover it more than like even Kyle Kalinske, when they do mention the coup in Iran, 1957, 1952, I don't remember. But whenever they mention that coup, I don't think I mean, I have my own issues. So yeah, that's maybe these are my own issues. But sorry, what was I gonna say?
That
though?
even Kyle Kalinske, when he mentions the coup in Iran, I
No,
guess
no,
you're going to say
no, that's my
US
personal
focused, yeah.
problem with the just US take on the but I would say I wish we did continue it into the month of July, just because in the month of July you had this whole Haitian assassination thing, and you had the Cuban issue right now, the whole protest that is mostly, it seems to be fake and all that. So I would have won like global events obviously dictate how news goes. So I would wonder how different, like how exceptional were these 2 months in terms of.
I would speculate. I'm speculating, and we can do this later. Even if you add those Haiti stories and those Cuba stories, overall, it would have maybe doubled their foreign stories, but that's because they did like 10 each. But it would become like, 20 or something. It would still be a small category, even though those are two issues that the left is covering very well. And Breaking Points is doing a great job with Haiti, and they're covering it a lot.
Exactly.
But still, I don't think it would make a huge difference overall. But yeah, for sure, it would show up.
I think for their foreign issues, just to get a better look, probably one should do a year-long study just to see if maybe there are trends, global trends. For summers, a lot of parliaments go on a break in summer, so that type of thing would be interesting. But just that these are I've already talked too much.
Nice stuff. And then maybe the folks watching this can also tell us, of course, your comments, questions, as always, criticisms for Sam, but me as well this time. Since
comments for Sam, or criticisms for Sam.
But please leave them below. And of course, with Sam, we had that whole big dispute early on in the video, which his point is, I understand his point completely, but I still think that if I did it that way or my way and then categorize them within it, it would have been the same thing. Like I said, the more you dive into, the more you categorize these, more come up. If I'd really broken down all the domestic issues one by one, if you had watched, the videos, it would be a much richer analysis and more would come out.
Just to give a deep dive into our own channel, so far all the videos we had, like everybody pretty much disagrees with me all the time and agrees with you, except one video. So I hope this will be the second video that people will agree with.
True.
But we'll see.
Listen, if you did this, by the way, in our videos, if you categorize our videos, it will be like Iran, TYT. You want TYT. But to be fair to us, there's two
Iran,
of us.
no,
And
immigration,
immigrant, yeah. I mean, we post 5
refugees,
videos per week, so it's kind of hard to
Middle East
diversify.
geopolitics, Jimmy
Yeah.
Do, Middle East Jimmy Do.
But hopefully in a year we'll have much more diverse. But just like the other
Yeah.
channels, I mean, when there's one or two of you, I mean, you know, you each come
And
up
it's,
with one or two stories per
differences.
week and you're working, and then, I mean, that's it. Hard to diversify.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, on that note, I don't think I have anything else to add. So people, please leave your comments, questions, and more importantly, your criticisms, and we'll make sure to get to them. If not, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.